Good evening and welcome again to another edition of Marauder Montage. I'm your host, Gabe Muterspaw. I'm here with esteemed athletic directors Greg Roach and Day-Ricka Shelton. Welcome, fellas.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. We're going to go right into spring sports today. We're going to talk about some maybe outstanding performances already early this year. Talk about, the ins and outs of spring sports with weather. Usually is always a concern, and just different teams in general. So let's go ahead and start with you, Greg. Let's talk about baseball and how that's going. I know your son is playing on the team this year, so you got the scoop on what's going on.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of baseball games this year. My son's a sophomore, and he's on the varsity and probably also going to play some JV as well. So see plenty of baseball. The varsity team's off to a 2-4 start, but definitely a tough part of the schedule to start the season with Yorktown a couple weekends ago. They're ranked, I think, 4th in 3A. And then we played Pendleton Heights last Friday in a doubleheader and split with them. So they're 2-4 right now. Played a very good Lawrence Central team last night. Probably the best pitcher we've seen all year. So, kind of starting slow on the wins and losses, but definitely can see the talent there. Zach Spears has pitched the last the two weekend doubleheaders, 1 game each in the conference, and I think he had 12 strikeouts the first game and 11 the second. So, the pitching performance from Zach has been really strong there so far.
And I know, just for the folks at home, Zach is a Miami of Ohio recruit, going to pitch there next year, and also Zach left-handed and about 6'7", so definitely has some leverage there. Excellent. Derek, you want to talk a little bit about?
Well, I think they're doing a real good job. The first game of the season, they got 2 starters that were injured. So we had a kid who sprained his ankle pretty severely and a kid who separated his shoulder. And they're both returning players. So, for Coach Carr coming in as a new coach, and that's the first thing he's got to come across is to lose his 2 starters in the very first game of a doubleheader that's conference. But they've done a good job just continue to fight, and they're playing pretty well, just playing some real good competition right now.
Good deal. I know also we had just mentioned Coach Carr. Maybe talk a little bit about Coach Carr, first-year coach, but been part of the program for a while and has been an assistant coach, and how he's doing so far.
Coach Carr was with us a couple years ago as an assistant. Then he went to Indianapolis Manual and kind of he found the players for the program there last year, and he taught in the IPS system. Then he came to us as a social studies teacher this year, and we hired him as our baseball coach. Derek hired him as our head baseball coach. He coached my son's travel team this past summer, and really impressed with the things he does, his baseball knowledge, developing good positive relationships with the players. I should mention he's a Manchester College grad. He'll enjoy me saying that. Played up there, so just a good guy, a good role model for our student athletes as well.
Good deal. So we look for good things this spring from the boys baseball team, get everybody healthy, and they should make some waves coming up. Let's talk a little bit about softball. Let's just transition into softball. I know longtime assistant coach is now the new coach. I know it was Veronica Kirby, I believe, used to be Weaver. Let's talk about softball.
Softball's now, they're 2-1. They played Cathedral last Friday. Cathedral had already played a couple games, and they're very strong, very good hitting team. The final score was, I think, 12-5 or something like that. And then we played Lutheran on Saturday, played a doubleheader, swept that doubleheader. And the softball team's going to put up a lot of runs. They're exciting to watch. I think we had 4 or 5 home runs in the 3 games that we hit. So definitely going to be some fireworks going on offensively for us for the softball team.
Excellent, Derek. You want to?
Yeah, I think Veronica's going to come in and do a really nice job. She's got a lot of college experience that will help her, continue what Coach McGill has done, over the last several years. So we're really excited to see them progress, and New Pal's got a real good softball team this year, and they're playing really, really well. And so it's going to be a real test in the conference, but we're just looking for them to continue to get better.
Excellent. I know losing to Cathedral never a bad thing. They have the #1 recruiting class in the state coming in. So I jest, everybody. So the next sport.
Send those emails to Gabe Muterspaw, please.
The next sport we're going to talk about, track and field, led by longtime coach Bruce Kendall again. Go ahead and maybe talk about some, at least on the boys' side, we'll start there. and talk about maybe some outstanding athletes that look to do some good things this spring.
Well, we're really good in distance. Coach Kendall, that's his specialty, especially being the cross-country coach. We've got Christian Noble, who's a really good runner. He's probably, I'd say, in the top 10 or 15 in the state. So we got some depth at that position, I think. We had Yorktown the other day, and they were very athletic. We got some young kids that have the long jump and the high jump. So we're, just looking to create some depth, and that's kind of hard to do with PTP, that we have. But Coach Kendall's done a really good job of getting the kids out. And we've got a pretty big team this year, so it's really going to help us as we advance on into the season.
Excellent.
And we also have Aaron Rush is some of that depth in our distances in these dual meets so far. He hasn't run them together in the same events. He's kind of spread them out a little bit. So as we get in these bigger meets where you score more points and things like that, then you'll probably see them run together in the mile and 2 mile and things like that, and give some more depth through those through those events.
Sure, perfect.
And I think it's important to note that when people go to track meets that they don't think there's any strategy to it. But Coach Kendall, there's some strategy. There's a lot of strategy to it, and taking kids out of events and putting them in different events, and basically don't show your whole hand. Like when we had Yorktown the other day, we spread our athletes out, and when we see them in the conference, and it's going to be different. But Coach Kendall does a really good job of strategically placing those kids in specific races and not necessarily showing all of our cards ahead of time.
And I think, to follow up with that as well, there's a lot of scouting involved in track with Coach Kendall anyway, where he's matching up against the other schools, whether it's a dual meet, a three-way meet, or a big conference meet or county meet. He matches them up, matches our athletes up to where we can score the most points. So definitely a lot of scouting, which before I came to Mount Vernon 18 years ago, I would have never thought that. But just watching his work and strategically working through how he wants to conduct a meet with his athletes, it's really intriguing to watch and listen to him talk. And we always give Mr. Kendall a hard time, but a lot of times he's right. He'll predict scores and things like that. Or halfway through a meet, he'll tell us what the final scores are going to be. And it's uncanny how often he's right on those things.
And we're fortunate to have two really good track coaches, and they've been at it for a long time. And in today's coaching, realm or society that we have, you don't get coaches that have been in it for as long as those guys have. And that's key, because they understand the system, they understand how it works, kids understand them. And, for those guys to continue to be in it for 30 plus years with him and Coach Leonard, we just feel very fortunate to have them, because they both have retired as teachers, but they still decided to stay on and continue to coach for us, and we're really happy that they decided to do that.
Which I think continuity, that's huge.
Right, and that takes us into the girls' side. Coach Leonard, Tim Leonard, is our girls' coach, longtime boys assistant for Mr. Kendall, also the assistant for our cross-country team, and he just does a great job of getting our kids ready and developing relationships with the girls' track athletes that encourages them to improve.
I'll tell you what, after the break, when we get back, we'll talk more about girls' track, talk about boys' golf in the spring, and girls' tennis. So after the break, we'll be back and talk more on Marauder Montage.
At Nat Geo Wild, we love people who love animals, especially when they live in Hawaii. No one is better equipped to practice in paradise than Aloha Vet Dr. Scott Sims. He brings a sense of adventure to every visit. Say hello to Aloha Vet. New episodes, Saturdays at 9 on Nat Geo Wild.
Welcome back to Marauder Montage. I'm your host, Stevie Lynch, here with Greg Roach, Athletic Director, and Derek Shelton. Welcome back, guys, for
Thanks,
segment
Dave.
number 2. I know we finished the last segment talking a little bit about girls track. Let's get back into girls track at this point and maybe talk about some outstanding performances already and look at boys golf and girls tennis.
One of our girls, Olivia Coleman, and just a tremendous athlete for us, a three-sport athlete. She set our school record in the 200. I think it was 26.2. So she did that last week. She was a fourth-place finisher as a freshman in the 400. So she'll run those two races for us. She'll long jump for us. Running a relay for us. Turning in great times and really looking to make an impact down at state meet when we get to June.
That's excellent.
I think we have also Aubrey Bimbo, who's the hurdler for us, and she's very, very competitive. She won both events, I think, the other night against Yorktown. And being a senior, that we're going to draw from her experience and also from Olivia to hopefully gain a lot of first place finishes for us.
I've been looking at scores. Coach Leonard does a good job of sending those out to everybody in the administration, and saw a young girl that's actually come on pretty strong. Bethany Knuckles, I believe, has done a nice job, does a long jump too. So good to see some young girls coming up, doing a nice job. Let's kind of transition over to boys golf, led by Caleb Zelensik. Let's talk about how those guys should do this spring.
Well, we really don't know because we haven't had a match yet because
right.
there's been so much rain. It's all right that we haven't had a match?
No.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Those guys don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
They spend a lot of time practicing. That's the thing about golf is those guys are year-round anymore. They do a lot of hitting balls inside during the winter. And, they're eager to get out on the course and try to get some real live action in front of them. And hopefully we can see. We've got some really good golfers. Oliver Mass, he's one of our best. And, we're expecting a lot of big things from them. And that golf team's growing. It's been kind of a tough number for us because you're either committed to playing golf or you're not. And it's a pretty expensive sport to play, especially when you add PTP on top of it. But I think Coach Lindsay's got, 10 kids out, and they're working hard right now.
It's one of the bigger numbers that I've seen from boys golf. That's excellent. Anything you wanted to add about boys?
I think we have 4 guys coming back that were varsity players last year. So we're looking to improve and get better. I think we've won the county 5 times in a row now, and certainly want to make that a goal and get another county championship. And Yorktown's awfully good in the conference, but we want to make a run, and the thing about golf, we play the best we can, and we don't have to worry about what the other team does. We just do our best. So, if we're peaking at the end of the season, then we'll feel like we're in good shape and doing what we want to do.
And Yorktown's got one of the best programs in the state. I think they won the state last year, finished second in the state last year in golf. So it's pretty competitive, and they continue to push us to get better and better. And our kids really enjoy the competition. Golf is, I would say, somewhat of an individual sport. They draw the best out of our golfers, that's for sure.
Perfect.
And it's kind of what you see in tennis. More and more of our athletes are playing in the summer tournaments and the Pepsi tournament or whatever it's called now. So getting a lot more play in outside of school, competitive play rather than just practicing and playing rounds, which certainly sharpens your game, hardens your nerves a little bit, and things like that. So when you're in pressure situations, that you can come through and feel like you've been there before.
It's great. Well, let's transition into I don't know much, but I do know a little bit about our tennis program, girls tennis.
We'd like to ask you questions about tennis.
That'd be awesome.
Well, we had our first match, I think, last week.
We did
against Pendleton.
Pendleton Heights, yes.
And we didn't fare as well. I don't know if we got out coached or what.
I was told it was coaching, so
right.
I don't know, but
kind of what I heard, but I
we'll have to look into
thereof.
that.
I didn't really want to say that on TV, but I guess we will.
Yeah, we talking about our tennis program, girls tennis right now. We're 0-1. We lost 2-3 to Pendleton Heights. Pendleton Heights is ranked 33rd in the state right now. Play again tonight against number 30 Franklin Central. So, we've done a good job of really pushing our girls tennis program to play good teams. It's usually not about the record. You want to do well there, but we want to finish top in the county, top in our conference, and especially sectional time. I mean, that's what we remember. So we're led by 3 seniors, 2 singles right now. Molly Laughlin, she's been a 3-year varsity player. Sarah Jones, 3-year varsity player, and Addison Eads, 3-year varsity player. Our 1 singles this year is going to be Cassie York. Played 2 doubles varsity last year, and if there are young kids out there, she's probably made the biggest jump in 19 years that I've seen improvement from one season to the next. And it's all about hard work. We talked about, the off-season program. She probably played close to 15 to 20 tournaments, did private lessons, and really threw all of her energy into being the best tennis player she can be, and she really surprised me this spring. We've got a lot of young girls. We've got one out tonight, and a girl that's going to step in, freshman Elena Nelson, is going to play 3 singles. Nothing like throwing her to the wolves. But, she's played tournaments too, and as an 8th grader and a 7th grader. So, we think she'll be fine. The one thing that we talk about as a tennis program, I think with every coach, is that you've got practice players, and then, when the lights come on, can you perform? And I think, we'll see Elena do a nice job for us. And when the lights come on, you want someone who's a gamer. And, we're pretty excited about this season. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, win a ton of matches, and, be pushing for a county and sectional again.
Talk about the importance of having a middle school tennis program.
Well, and we are in the process. We're in the baby steps at this point. We're starting another intramural program again this spring with Joe Anderson, who played for me. I've already had a couple former players wanting to help out, which is going to be great. And it's a process. Greenfield here, New Pal. We're the only one in the area that doesn't have the full program right now, but I think it's something that our next athletic director hopefully will address, and it makes a big difference when you're not teaching strokes of kids coming in and you're teaching strategy. It's a big difference there. We've seen New Pal have players come in and help them out. Greenfield now is starting to reap the benefits with a freshman that is going to play high for them too. So it's going to be extremely important. I think it's something that is number one on my list of things we need to get done. And, we have over 200 kids usually in tennis camp. So if we can get them in the middle school too, it's only going to make our program stronger.
Talk about your tennis camp, Gabe. Gabe's known for running a great tennis camp. He's got a real good turnout. Talk about kind of your philosophy behind that camp and why you think kids enjoy it so much.
And it was a long time ago where I talked to Coach Greg Roach. I called him Coach, sometimes my coach, mentor. We talked about Steve Alford's basketball camp and it being successful here in Indiana and then, different places. And he always said, he wanted 3 things. First, make sure all your counselors know every kid's name, whether it's a nickname, whether it's a goofy name, make sure that, they're having fun. You want them to have fun more than anything, because if they're having fun, they're going to still continue to do it, and you kind of trick them, into learning the strokes and, the things we talk about on serving, pull the sword out of the backpacking, come down on the dragon head. Sorry, New Pal, that's just the way we do it. I'll dress up in Mr. Incredible outfits because for me, if I'm not having fun, it's not going to be fun. So at the end of the day, when we get back, we'll talk more about that and talk about some things that you guys want to talk about, MV Travel Sports, and coming up after the break, we'll have a good third segment after Marauder Montage.
Free, scumbucket. Miami Vice.
Vice is everywhere. No! On Cozy TV, that is.
Vice, pal.
Now that Miami Vice joins the Cozy TV lineup, it's Vice, Vice, Vice every weeknight. And more Vice, Vice, Vice in prime time on Saturday.
I think that's a hell of an accomplishment.
What on earth are we going to do about all this Vice?
Just enjoy it, man.
Great idea. Freeze in your cozy chair and watch Miami Vice weeknights and Saturday nights on Cozy TV.
Welcome back. We're at the third segment of Marauder Montage. I'm your host, Gabe, and here with Derek Shelton and Greg Roach. Derek, you had another question you wanted to ask me before we finish up with girls tennis?
I'll ask you a question, Gabe, just so I can talk for a little bit.
Sure.
Tell the audience what you enjoy most about coaching.
I think the interaction with the kids. I was very fortunate. I get asked to write letters of recommendation. And I got a pretty neat one the other day from Kelsey Tamman. Kelsey got in the Doctor of Pharmacy School at Purdue.
Nice.
And, I seem to want to think, and at least in my heart of hearts, that, when you're coaching, it transcends just coaching on game nights. You want to see your kids successful after they've been here, whether it's college, whether it's in the workforce, philanthropy, things like that. At the end of the day, I'm not going to kid you. I mean, I love to win. I love the competitive of it, the competition. I love, hating other schools on that night, and then after that, I'm probably rooting for them on county schools. But I think it's all encompassing, because as a player, you get that. It's kind of like the juice of, competition and trying to win and doing your best. And when you become a coach, you're living through your team. And it's very rewarding to see our kids succeed, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Gabe, explain to our audience how, you got a lot of irons in the skillet. You run your own business. For those of you who don't know, he has twin kids, Mac and Quinn. How do you manage all that stuff and still be an effective coach?
Well, for me, and I think you guys talked it on a previous show, you got to have a great wife, support system. My family, you'll probably see my parents at every single tennis match for the last 19 years. And my wife Cinda does a tremendous job. And working family business, my brother and my dad allow me to still come out here and coach and do what I love, as well as running a business. And with the kids, they're only 3.5, going to be 4 this year. So we'll probably send them down to IMG next year and get them rolling. And I'm just kidding, Cinda. Don't hold that against me. And you make it fun. You make it a family affair. You have to if you're a high school coach.
What are irons in the skillet?
I like dinner, skillet plate to eat.
Gabe, explain to us the impact that Coach Bernie Campbell, who is now our principal, the positive impact that he had on your life as your tennis coach.
Well, for Coach Campbell, and I still call him Coach, one of the things that he always did was make it fun every day. For us, his whole thing was he would still play with us like I do with our kids, and I still use it the old, I can't be beat, I won't be beat, I'm the best ever. I think he was playing with a wooden racket back then, and he had the sweetest mustache of all time. But he made it fun. We still remember the stories, and my kids would come back. I say my kids, my tennis players, and tell stories, and he would used to tell a story about Anthony Zigarelli, that they play Ouija board with. And all the guys on my team still remember that. So, first and foremost, you have to make it fun because there's so many things that kids can do nowadays. So if I can get a kid to come out one day and try tennis, I usually think I'm going to get them hooked.
Compare and contrast that with your basketball experience and Coach Hal.
Yeah, and growing up in Indiana, basketball was my first love, and I still love it. And Coach Hal, it was almost more of a, he wasn't going to be more of a friend type coach. He was going to get the best out of you by you wanting to run through a brick wall for him because, he would get you ready to play X's and O's, and our scouting reports were wonderful. Best time in the world, I got to play with an Indiana All-Star, Brian Gilpin, another great player, Kevin Browning. Where our experience over my 4 years, we went to a semi-state last game, lost to Glenn Robinson in the semi-state at Brebeuf, and I also got to play against Glenn Robinson, Alan Henderson, and Glenn Robinson at Gary Roosevelt. I wouldn't trade those for the world, and to play in the big tournament, where it wasn't class system, I wouldn't have traded. I would go back to a one-class system if we could. It's not going to go there. But, for us, all 3 of us up here that got to play in it, it's one of the neatest things in the world.
Explain to our viewers the importance that athletics have in your life as a young man and as now you get older and have your own kids.
And that's one of the things that, I think is most important is to have a firm base. I think athletics teaches character first. Watching the Masters this weekend with a 21-year-old Jordan Spieth, who won it, and even if he wouldn't have won it, carried himself with absolute grace, mature under pressure. And I think, whether it's golf or whether it's, tennis or track or anything, I think I use the word transcend again, I think it leads into the rest of your life. Discipline, focus, all those things that you have to be a tremendous, human being that will give back to, life.
Right. Talk about some of your assistants. You got some quality coaching staff that help you out.
I do. I'm very fortunate. Ashley Glant, who used to be Grolic, teaches out in Greenfield District right now. I think she's a 5th grade teacher, has been with me probably the last 8 years. She's tremendous. She was an all-state doubles player for me. She is a fiery, emotional coach and gets the best out of girls and knows that side of it a little bit better. And then Chris Zalinga, one of the top players in the state of Indiana right now in the 30s, played at Anderson University in Eastern Hancock. We kind of stole him and brought him over here, and he is fantastic just from the X's and O's on the single side of things. So we've got a great mix. We wouldn't be successful without those 2 helping us out.
Talk about the program. like these kids go and play a lot of club tennis. You know, how does that help you, especially develop the younger kids who, you know, may not get a whole lot of experience?
Sure, and we've been very fortunate to partner up with Rick Witzkin, former two-time state champion, has Witzkin Team Tennis. You know, they've been very nice to come out into our area, do lessons, you know, and open their doors to us. And a lot of our kids have gone there. You know, IRC on the northeast side of Indianapolis has been good. And, you know, it's all about the off-season work. You know, I'd push my kids to actually do other sports, you know, not just tennis, but, you know, make sure you're doing a lot of tennis, and it makes a big difference. That's when players are made.
Talk about facilities, and people don't understand how important it is really to not only have a couple courts, but have a number of courts that allow us to host a lot of different events.
We are extremely fortunate. I found out probably about 10 years ago that we have the third number of courts at one site in the state of Indiana. And so to have 12 courts, to have lights, you know, we're going to have our county tennis tournament here in 2 weeks, run by Greenfield, but at Mount Vernon on a Friday night, because we have the facilities and the lights, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Good.
Where else are we going, Gabe?
You know, I think at this point, you know, I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk about tennis, you know, and all of our spring sports. It's been a great segment here. We look forward to having a great year. Hopefully by the next time we talk here at the end of May, we'll be talking about sectional championships and, you know, some more about the spring sports. So for Marauder Montage, I'm Gabe Muterspaw, your host, Greg Roach, and Derek Shelton. Have a good day.